I get it, you're staring at the price tag on a Bach Stradivarius trumpet and wondering if you're about to make the right call or end up with a pricey piece of metal that sits in a case gathering dust. I've been in that exact spot, trying to figure out whether the upgrade will actually help my sound or just pad my budget. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. When I first started researching the Stradivarius series, I kept coming back to the same question. Does the extra polish and the nameplate really translate into something I can feel when I'm playing my next gig, or is it mostly a brand halo? I dug through forums, read a handful of professional gear blogs, and skimmed the 4.4-star rating that 74 other trumpeters left on Amazon. The consensus was clear: most people who bought the 180S43 did so because they wanted to step up from a student model without diving straight into a custom handmade instrument. That's a useful data point because it tells us the trumpet sits in a sweet spot where the cost is still manageable, but the performance gain is noticeable. Let's break down why that matters in a real-world setting. If you're a high school senior gearing up for college auditions, you need a trumpet that can handle the higher register without choking, but you also need something that won't break the bank if you end up switching schools. The 180S43's bore, while I'm not quoting exact measurements, offers a medium resistance that many intermediate players describe as balanced. In practice, that means you can push a bright, focused tone in a marching band's outdoor field rehearsal and still get the same clarity when you sit down for a jazz combo session later that night. I tried it out with a friend who plays in a brass ensemble. He said the note-to-note consistency helped him blend better during fast passages, something he struggled with on his previous student instrument. Now, who should actually consider this trumpet? First, anyone who has outgrown a basic student model and is ready for a professional-grade instrument that still feels familiar. That includes serious high school players, college majors, and even gigging professionals who want a reliable backup. The silver-plated finish isn't just about looks. It adds a subtle brightness to the sound that cuts through a mix, which you'll notice in a live setting where you're competing with drums and electric guitars. If you're the type of player who spends a lot of time in rehearsal rooms, recording studios, or on stage, that extra projection can be the difference between being heard and getting lost in the background. On the flip side, there are clear reasons to walk away. If you're just picking up the trumpet for the first time or you're on a tight student budget, the 180S43 might feel like overkill. Its price point is higher than most entry-level instruments, and the silver plating, while attractive, can require a bit more care to keep it looking sharp, especially if you're a marching band member who's constantly moving through rain or sweat. Also, if you have a very specific bore preference, say you've been playing a narrow bore for years and love that tight, focused feel, this model's medium bore could feel a little looser, which might require a short adjustment period. Let's talk about the valves for a second. The 180S43 uses a standard 3-valve configuration with piston action that most players find smooth after a brief warm-up. In my testing, the valve action stayed consistent even after an hour of continuous playing, which is something you'll appreciate during a long rehearsal or a full concert program. The downside? The valve springs are factory installed, and, while they hold up well for most users, a professional who demands ultra-fast response might eventually want to have them serviced or replaced. It's not a deal-breaker, but it's a hidden trade-off you should be aware of. Another practical aspect is the included accessories. The package comes with a hard case, a mouthpiece, and a cleaning rod, all the basics you need to start playing right out of the box. This is a nice value add compared to buying each piece separately, especially for a player who's moving to a new school or starting a new gig. However, the included mouthpiece is a standard size that may not suit everyone's embouchure. I found that a few players swapped it for a custom mouthpiece within the first few weeks to fine-tune their comfort and tone. That's a small extra cost, but it's worth noting if you're counting every penny. From a maintenance perspective, the silver plating does require regular polishing to avoid tarnish, especially if you store the trumpet in a humid environment. I've seen a few cases where the finish dulled after a few months of heavy gigging, but a quick wipe with a proper silver polish restores the shine. It's not a huge hassle, but it's something you'll need to factor into your routine. Overall, the Stradivarius 180S43 feels like a bridge between the beginner's world and the high-end.